Hi, my name is Alejandro Pérez Pérez, and this is the AI Coffee Podcast. Every week, you will have one disruptive aspect of technology and artificial intelligence for the time you drink a cup of coffee. Today, we're going to talk about technical interviews, and I will provide you 5 tips for really going into the next episode of your career. So yeah, for doing that, I will explain you a little bit from my experience as a technical person working in different companies, such as big companies, also working as a freelance for different projects, different companies as well. And also I will provide you examples of things I have seen and things I would like to have seen, let's say. Okay. So just to start, as I mentioned, I have been working as a project technical lead and different projects I have been working for, and I have been in touch of these candidates actually that wanted to join my team or want to join also other teams I was helping to, and also I was helping. This is a small secret, but well, it's not a secret. I had a customer, and I have been working for that for a technical interview process also for a recruitment company for a couple of weeks actually, and it was really interesting. So I got a lot of ideas from that, and also from my own experience as a candidate, because of course also I have been a candidate and I got my own experiences since that. So this, of course, these are recommendations from my experience, from things that I think you can take it and you can use it, but of course it will depend on you and also on the company or the position that maybe you could really have the good opportunity or not. Okay, so just to start, first tip. The first tip, I think it's really important, is understanding the role and the company and the project you are applying to. And sometimes it's really hard because many of these all, let's say, applications and offers talk about maybe really briefly about, okay, I would like a data engineer or data science or technical person on the one specific point, but maybe they don't exactly explain the project, the customer, if it's an internal or external project. So it's very interesting and very important for you that in the first interview that you might have had with, for example, the human resource person or the people responsible in the company, at that point you get enough information for the technical interview. So if you need, for example, to work on Python or R or C or Java or whatever, it's interesting to understand as much as possible, because also maybe depending on the project, you will need to focus about, okay, maybe I need to focus on financial data in Python. And it's not going to be the same rather than if you need to focus on machine learning models in Python, even though it's the same specific language. So my first tip is trying to understand and getting as much information as possible. The second tip, which I think is important also, is thinking about your past projects, because you are going to be asked for sure about your CV, about your personal and professional projects in the past. Of course, it will depend if you are a senior person that you have maybe, I don't know, 30 years of experience behind, or you have maybe nothing because you are just entering after university, maybe. So I really recommend you to think about what you can offer, also what you can already do, and it's very important to see the past, what you already did. And for doing that, I recommend you to think as a portfolio. I don't know if you have a portfolio. If you don't have it, I also recommend you to do it. But maybe if you are preparing a technical interview, it's okay if you don't have it because you already passed one of the first filters, so it's okay. But something I suggest you to do, and I have a portfolio on my website in alejandroperezperez.com. It's somewhere around the podcast. If you want, you can go. It's trying to replicate a method that I think it works well, which is the STAR method. This method, you need to focus on the things you have done. So, for example, if you were involved in a project before, you need to think about this STAR method. So, situation, task, action, and result. This is, for example, the way I have my portfolio, and I guess it works well because you part from their situation. So, for example, I had a customer that had this specific issue. So then you pass to task. I did a development in Python, I don't know, working with ML models or working with something like that. Then action, it create a revenue of investment of blah blah blah. It created a lot of value because you reduce it cost, whatever. And then results, like at the end of the day, it provided a lot of money, for example, for the customer, or yeah, whatever. So you can think about these specific points. And also maybe what I would like also to say is, for example, if not only if I created value for the customer, but also if, for example, I have a lesson learned from that, because I think it's also really interesting for a person like asking you about your past. If you, for example, have learned something from this experience and you say it in the interview, such as, for example, saying, yes, I learned that maybe I'm too optimistic with the deadlines, and sometimes I feel like I will finish this in a week and maybe I take more than a week. So now I learned that I need to set an extra time for that. So, for example, this lesson learned is very, very important. And if you have something behind to prove that you learned that, fantastic. So the third one, you can use ChatGPT, and I usually say so because it's like one of my best friends nowadays. But you can use ChatGPT for training these specific things that I had said before. For example, regarding your portfolio, your stories behind your projects, but also if you know at this point that you are going to be asked to, I don't know, to create an ML model, XGBoost model or something like that, 1 hour, maybe to clean some data set or something, you can ask ChatGPT to simulate a test, a technical training, a technical test or something like that for this specific scenario. And then at the D-Day, you will be more prepared than if you haven't done it yet. Yeah. So this is also a good suggestion for you. Of course, also, if you are in the technical interview and you don't know one specific point, because maybe, I mean, it's impossible to control everything, it's okay. It's nice to be also honest and say, this thing, I have never seen it before, even though, I am used to these other techniques. So yeah, sometimes if you are saying honest things and even sometimes we think that, okay, we are going to be discarded because I am not able to do this specific point. But if you are honest and you say what you really know, and sometimes very interesting things, and maybe what you don't know is 1% of what you need. So it's also okay so sometimes. So the fourth tip is trying to adapt and have a problem solving mentality. Most of the times when we are technical, we focus on the technical aspects, such as, for example, we say, I'm really good at Python, creating lists, creating specific coding things, coding scripts. I'm very good at whatever. And this means nothing for most of the recruiters because they don't know these words, they don't know these terms. So try to focus on a more business oriented approach and more a problem solving approach. Something like the last position I was working for, I solved X problems by doing X project. And maybe trying to think that way, it's much, much valuable, and it connects also to the portfolio and the STAR method. It's more valuable because for a recruiter, if you translate it to his or her language, it will work much better. And of course, it will create a difference because most of us are not used to say that. And then the fifth thing is, at the end of the interview, it's very important to ask insightful questions. I have seen very often many TikTok videos and many videos all around saying that it's important to ask questions. But, I have been asked very silly questions at the end of interviews, and this doesn't work. what you need to do is ask insightful questions. If you don't have any, it's okay. Don't do it. Please don't ask silly questions. But if you have insightful questions, such as, for example, you want to know more about the project, about the role, maybe if you were using a technique or a technology that maybe you are not so good at that, maybe you can ask about, okay, why did you decide to use this specific technology, even though I have heard that maybe it's not so common or it's legacy, or that's an interesting thing. So maybe it could also create value to the recruiter or the person, the technical person, maybe, which is in charge of the interview. And it makes a difference as well, because if you provide something, even though it's a tiny bit thing, then the person making the decision will think, okay, this person already in 30 minutes, in 1 hour, already made me think about this technology I'm using, or this decision I made 2 years ago that maybe I need to change that. So this is really, really interesting, and it will create like a strong value for you as a candidate for at least continuing the process. And if you are not in the process anymore, if you do this step, at least I promise you that they will have a good reminder of you, and maybe in 2 months or 6 months or 1 year, even though you are not chosen for this specific position, maybe you are called from the company saying, you know what, we have another position. We remember you because you created value. You made us think about that. And maybe, yeah, we saw you very honest, and we had another candidate because it was better for this position at that time, but we want you for another position. Yeah. So this works well. I hope you could use it for enforcing your career, enforcing your brand as a candidate, as a technical professional. And yeah, I wish you all my luck if you are at the beginning of this year trying to find in a good position for you. I know this is hard if you are on that search, but I promise you that maybe sooner, maybe later, but you will find a good spot for you. So if you liked it, please subscribe to the podcast. I always say so. But a good, important, and very important thing is provide me feedback. If you liked it, this episode, if you would like that the AI Coffee podcast is something different, also write to me. And I will be more than happy also to help you if you are looking for a new position, and maybe I can do something for you. So let's stay in touch. Thank you very much one more time, and see you next week. Bye bye.